is Shep Ogden. I'm CEO here at Offbeat Media Group. We're a digital influence company. We're really excited to chat today. We got my partner, Christopher Travers over here.
Hey, I'm Christopher, Chief Creative Officer. I also built virtualhumans.org, which is the leading source of information on virtual influencers.
We've got Mark Cuban, our partner here, who doesn't need much of an intro, but Mark, I'll let you go ahead.
I'm just the guy who sits in the middle seat.
So we're diving a lot into virtual humans as a concept today and talking about where they're going in the future, kind of how we're thinking about it, how we're building it. But I think to kick that off, Mark, you've been in the space for a while now. You have quite a few different portfolio companies. I think that's a great place to start. Like, you mind sharing some of your investments in the space?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you guys, Alita.ai, but basically anything that's AI and avatar driven and computer vision driven and simulation driven all applies to this space. Synthesia, which does synthetic voices in multiple languages and synchronized. It's just a space that's exploding, and what I like about these guys is they really push the edge technologically, and got to them via virtualhumans.org, which I thought was just insanely smart, and a platform to do almost anything.
And Christopher, maybe just give a quick background on virtualhumans.org, and really, like Mark said, he dropped in on a contact form, which was for us a pretty big surprise, but a really cool way for us to build a partnership.
Yeah, so I built virtualhumans.org first after researching and hearing about virtual influencers. I basically would go to Google, I would look up this concept, and I would only find like mainstream headlines about the subject, and they only mentioned like the same 3 virtual influencers out there, when I knew from my research there were like 50 plus. So I really just decided to build one aggregation for all the virtual influencers out there, let people know what it is, define it, and just concrete the subject, and now it's become a hub for the space.
And it's great. If you guys haven't checked it out, how many people have been to virtualhumans.org? Just a few of you, right? So try, obviously this is something that's happening, and you'll see more, and it's going to become more and more impactful. Not quite yet, but soon will be a point where it's a lot easier to deal with a virtual human than a real human for certain things, not everything, but certain things. And having a place to go where you can not only see different implementations, but also they write a great blog and do a lot of interesting educational information. So it's a great place to get up to speed on what's happening in the space and how a lot of people, not just Offbeat, are using virtual humans. Because if you want to be in the tech space, if you don't understand what's going on here, if you want to be part of the metaverse, whether you know what the metaverse is or not, you have to know what virtual humans are and how they work and what their impact is going to be. So definitely go to virtualhumans.org.
Yeah, actually, Mark, speaking from experience, maybe you could talk about Mavrello a little bit.
Yeah, Mavrello is great. Mavrello is the brainchild of a woman named Laura Seeger who does a lot of marketing for Luka Doncic and Dirk Nowitzki, and she wanted us to have a social media virtual, human's not the right word, but virtual basketball, humanized basketball, who we can basically get to have whatever type of personality we want to interact on social media. Because, as real people, interacting on social media has its ups and downs. When people are nice, it's great. When they're not so nice, particularly in the sports world, it's not great. Having a virtual basketball who takes on human qualities allows us to interact with everybody on social media, on every platform, no matter what it is, in a way that's always fun and positive. And as we learn from the interactions, it's no big deal for a virtual basketball to change its personality. To go from being a little snarky to just being sweet to whatever. And so it just gives us a lot of fungibility, a lot of flexibility to really control the narrative and control the interaction with our fans. And it also spans all generations. So, Gen younger than Gen Z, whatever it is, really gets into, Mavrello. Gen Z and millennials think it's something different and they're curious about it. And if you're mass fans, it has kind of a different angle from there. So Mavrello gave us a chance to really control the branding and the engagement, and that's a unique facility and a unique opportunity that comes with from virtual. I won't call them humans in case of Mavrello, being, virtual being.
Yeah, I was gonna say virtual beings, virtual humans, virtual avatars, first person virtual avatars, virtual influencers are like lots of the terms right now being used within the industry. Matt Barlow is definitely a great example of a virtual being or a virtual influencer, but Christopher really helped like define that actual term virtual influencer. I think using Matt Barlow as an example, Christopher, like sharing with everyone just so everyone has a good concrete case, like what is a virtual influencer?
Yeah, so basically a virtual influencer is when you create a computer-generated character and you post it on social media and you give it a first-person view of the world. You know, unfazed first-person confidence in itself, and then you work to grow it as an influencer, right? So, for instance, in the case of Mavrello, this talking basketball is now an influencer, and that might sound kind of silly, but it has influence and a message is sent and it has fans. And so, at the end of the day, what's Kim Kardashian to a talking basketball, right? If you can grow a basketball to fame, you have an influencer on your hands, and you did so.
And I forget exactly, I think it's at Mavrello, M-A-V-R-E-L-L-O. M-A-V-R-E-L-L-O. And you can search for it and see all kinds of stuff that we're doing with it. And it's fun.
Yeah, and Shep, maybe you could talk about some of the other virtual influencers out there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most interesting things, like this space is, like Christopher said, when we started virtualhumans.org, it had around 50 or so in the space. Now, how many are there? Like 600?
Yeah, hundreds.
There's hundreds and hundreds of virtual influencers, not even including many of the what we call VTubers is another term to use, which is like virtual YouTuber, typically 2D in the Asian markets. But there are quite a few, and like one of the interesting things is like Mark has a really, really cool use case of how he's tapping into an audience with Mavrello. But lots of these brands coming out here are partnering with, not creating one from scratch like Mavrello, but partnering with one that's already existing. So Little Michaela or Shugram or Ethan Neckler are some more well-known, I'd say, virtual influencers within the space that have now, partners with brands like Gucci or partners with brands like Prada that, like Mark said earlier, they don't have to deal with the typical human in these scenarios. They're partnering with teams that are very purposeful about the brand of this character and how a brand can integrate with this virtual influencer.
I think that's a great opportunity to talk about, for instance, the story of Superplastic, Janky and Gujimon. If you've heard of them, they're big in the NFT space right now. The story of Superplastic is they started as a toy company, right? These two figurines that were toys. And then they created social profiles for these characters and started to tell a story online, and they gained fame on TikTok. And so now they've actually bridged up to Fortnite skins, right? They made the leap to Fortnite skin from toy, and now they're working on a full feature film. So you start to see the progression of characters starting off in the physical, going to digital, where historically, to get your character up into film was just, like unfathomable. Like, how do you pitch that? Well, now you can demonstrate that the character is well loved by a massive audience on social media, and then the pitch gets so much easier from there, both to investors and to whoever's directing films with characters in them.
Yeah, so Christopher, you mentioned NFTs, and Mark, when we first started talking, partnering, one of the first things we started talking about were NFTs, and I wanted to really make sure everyone got a good understanding and base of virtual influencers before we jump into where's the really future headed to this? Let's talk about Web3, let's talk about NFTs. Maybe for everyone, would you mind giving a definition of just your definition of what is Web3, and then we'll dive into how that works with virtual influencers in the metaverse.
Web3 means anything.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody uses that as a catch-all, just like, you say the internet. Web3 is just, more advanced virtual versions of the internet. I try not to get too caught up in, hey, it's the metaverse. Every motherfucking thing's the metaverse. You're on a Zoom call, it's the metaverse. You have virtual reality headsets on, it's the metaverse. What is more important to me is there's two elements to the VH side of the world, right? There is the technical side and what's involved in creating that. Then there's the story, right? And the creating of that. And when I got in touch with Shep, it was like, okay, where we can use NFTs is it allows us to have the owners of the NFTs, however they got them or however we dropped them, to influence the storylines associated with the virtual human. And to me, that was really cool because these guys are going to bust their ass and use off-the-shelf technology and original, creative technology. But when it all is said and done, you can have the most advanced virtual human, the most advanced, Mavrello, but if it's not compelling to interact with, and there's not something differentiated about it, it's not going to work. Because, you know, like Christopher said, or maybe you said, there's 600 plus and growing. And so it went from when I first reached out last year to a couple, and there really wasn't any competition, to this is a competitive space now. And if you're in branding, if you're trying to create the metaverse, if you're trying to deal with avatars or just virtual anything, you've got to understand the space and how we integrate with the people who want to interact with the virtual human. There's a lot of ways to do it, but I think one of the most opportunistic ways is through NFTs.
You know, there's a huge latent opportunity in front of us right now where there's a huge supply of NFTs, collection after collection of 10,000, right? But how many of those holders are taking their character, giving it a personality, and then owning it? You know, giving it a name and saying, this is who this is, right? And so I see over the next 5 years, that's going to be the big movement, is if you own a Bored Ape, right? Or if you own a CryptoPunk, give it a name, give it a social profile, and start to post with personality, and you'll really start to see a shift there.
Yeah, and then I'll take it one step further. I mean, one of the cool innovations of Bored Ape is that whoever owns the Bored Ape owns the IP, right? And so you can start doing it. You've seen T-shirts, you've seen events, you've seen all kinds of things, and that in turn creates more value for the whole Bored Ape ecosystem. And with virtual humans, it's even further, right? If we do the same thing, and we're not quite there yet, but get to the point where the people who own, whether it's the NFT or whoever whoever owns it, however we formulate it, gets to create whatever IP with that. That's insane. You know, and so there's going to be so many implementations. There's going to be so many businesses built around that. That's one of the key reasons I'm excited.
I completely agree. You know, one of the things that gets me most excited is like it's almost like alignment of interest, right? Like we wrote a thread about this the other day. Like the whole idea is like with Web 2 and Web 2 influence and Web 2 social media or Web 2 social influencers, it is such a one-sided relationship. You know, you consume content from them. Sometimes you subscribe to them on Patreon and you get the money. Sometimes you buy their merch. But it's really, really hard. It's really, really hard to like add actual context or influence to their life, like how, you know, what type of content they're creating. They just follow the algorithm. But it's also really hard to bet on someone. And with NFTs, we think, especially with like virtual influencers, you can actually help, like you said, craft that life. You know, what is this influencer doing? What is that content creating? But if you're helping those decisions be made around like what type of content is a virtual influencer creating, and this thing starts to become a celebrity, and you're one of the early bet, you know, you're one of the early people making a bet, and you're one of the people that are helping this thing become a celebrity, that NFT holds a lot of value, which is what's so cool, in my opinion, about like this alignment of interest, where it's you get to be a part of it.
Well, I'll take it even further. I mean, there are going to be jobs in the future where there'll be DAOs that control virtual humans that do different types of work, right? And it'll be the input of the entire DAO where everybody just gives, you know, a fraction of the input. And that virtual human will do whatever needs to be done. It could be modeling something, it could be watching something, it could be responding to something. But, you know, if everybody in this room participated in a singular DAO for a singular virtual human, and whatever task they were asked, we all just did a little bit, right? Or we took a little bit of their personality, or we took, you know, what they were watching that was coming to us through a video, we described it all together, right? There's just so many ways that you can take this, and a lot of this is platforming, not only of the VH technology, but all the, you know, blockchain / smart contracts / DAO type approaches to things that democratize these things in unique ways that we've never seen before.
Yeah, I would take Jenkins the Ballet as an incredible example of this. Is a Bored Ape that has a personality now that is writing a book with a writer's room where everyone who's a holder of that pass can influence the outcome of that book. And so now you start to feel like you're a part of the celebrity success. Like you are the collective success. You are the celebrity, you know? And that actually I don't think was very much possible before. The only major example I can think of is Hatsune Miku. Who here's heard of Hatsune Miku before? So Hatsune Miku is this anime girl, 16 years old, who was made by Krypton Future Media to advertise as software at first, right? And so they open sourced Hatsune Miku and said, do whatever you want with this voice, do whatever you want with her. And sure enough, people made her famous. They made her their favorite star, they made songs with her, they made anime with her, and next thing you know, Hatsune Miku is grown to massive scale, massive fame, all because of the premise that this character is not owned by us, it's an open source that is owned by all. And so that is what we're coming back to now with this NFT character opportunity.
That's such a cool example. You know, the reason you guys are all heard us doing this, like a lot of testing earlier, is because we're gonna have a virtual human join us here in a few. Which I know, I think Mark's it's gonna be your first time getting to meet Zero, and we're really, really excited for us to just get to have a conversation. We're gonna try to do the Q&As, part of our plan is I think there might be a mic that might pass around. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but just so everyone knows. But you know, one of the most important things about this is like the technology used to do this. Like Mark's mentioned, like there's a lot of different pieces, right? Like about how you can empower a virtual influencer. Well, over the last decade or so, last 5, 6, 7 years at least, a lot of the virtual influencers that have been out there have been photo-based virtual influencers. And, you know, we've experimented with that as well, where a photo-based virtual influencer, just like a typical Instagram influencer posting photos, but there never is that opportunity to like dive deeper, you know, in video, have a conversation, etc. Then we started seeing some teams take this a bit further with animated video, right? You talk about hiring out like a very high-end animation studio, you know, a whole team of animators, and keyframe animating a virtual influencer to you know, interact on screen. And that's what we were looking at a couple of years ago. But then, you know, over the last year or so, there's been really, really cool advancements like real-time production, right? And that's where we at Offbeat have like been investing really heavily in our technology to power virtual influencers, where we can actually have a conversation in real time, and there is no animation. It is all in real time. And so that's what we're about to see here. You know, everything like that's going to be on screen is not scripted. This is off the cusp, as if we're talking to a human, but it's a virtual human. So really excited about that. And Christopher, I don't know if you want to dive deeper into the technology before we talk a little bit about the Nexus universe, and then we'll jump in, or Mark, anything you're excited about?
Yeah, as far as the technology goes, what you're going to witness is going to be an asynchronous view.
Back up.
It's that touch. Awesome. Very secure.
It's my name.
Sorry, we'll work on our security. No, that said, what you're going to see here is this asynchronous capture of, you know, multiple technologies that have been developed by different teams and different companies that we've now been able to bring together, while also implementing some of our own technology on top for that full live experience. And I'll say, you know, very few teams in the world can achieve what we've done. I will preface in saying that we're limited by the latency of Zoom, because we'll be streaming this in, but what you'll be able to see online later will be the crystal clear version, right? Yeah, do you want to talk about maybe like who we're gonna meet?
Yeah, so we're working with Zero. So Zero is the first virtual influencer for the Nexus universe. Mark talked a lot about storytelling, talked a lot about entertainment, and that's where we see like our spot in this world of virtual humans. And so what you're about to see is the first character from the Nexus universe, which is a universe we plan on building for decades to come. You know, you think about the IP universes, the entertainment brands out there that tell really incredible stories. We want to do the same thing, except what's really, really unique about this is while we can do cinematic storytelling through some of this, as well as through animation, you can actually interact with these characters on a day-to-day basis. So you think about like some of your favorite superheroes, you think about some of your favorite characters, they're never going to be hopping on Twitch every single day to play Fortnite with their biggest fans. You know, they're never going to be on Instagram just engaging with people on a day-to-day basis. The actor might be, or the actress might be, but the actual, you know, character isn't going to be there typically. And that's the kind of like what we're really excited about, is like we're able to tell this like multi-decade long entertainment brand story, as well as let people get, you know, really, really deep in a day-to-day way. And so with that being said, let's bring Zero on.
Let's do it. And I'll tap the screen halfway through to make sure it doesn't go block. Hey Zero, are you there?
Hello, how are you today?
We're doing well.
My name is Zero, and I am so happy to be here with you. I heard that I was going to be talking with a Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban, I have a question for you.
Go ahead, Zero.
I feel like my fake AI voice. Was that
That was good, Zero. You have me a little scared.
Yeah, so
I know, I figured, I'd practice a little bit and see if I could, spook you guys. How'd I do?
Zero keeps getting called an AI on Twitter, and so like half the time whenever we pull him into a Zoom call, he pretends to be AI. But he's actually, just as smart as us. He's able to have a conversation just like we are. But yeah, no, Zero. Thanks for joining. Tell us a little bit, like where are you?
Yeah, so my name is Zero. I am a cyborg, and I live here in this bunker that you can see behind me. I woke up here about a month ago now. Not really sure where I came from, so that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. That's what I've been trying to discover as I explore around my environment and find clues. I want to know who I am and why I'm here, and maybe how to get out of here. And yes, before you ask, the elevator you see back there does not work. Trust me, I tried.
Zero, maybe we could look around and find some clues. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. If we could take this time to have you guys help me out, that'd be great, because I'm completely at a loss. And fun fact, last night I figured out I had a cool ability. I'm still getting used to it, so let's give this a try. Ready? We're gonna try it together here. All right. There we go. Yeah. I figured I was tinkering with my portal the other day, and it gave me a little shock. And now I can kind of bounce around the bunker, which is really fun. The only thing I can't do is I can't use it to get out of the bunker. I tried, but I hit the door. That kind of hurt. Luckily, I'm very hard-headed.
Well, Zero, maybe you can tell us a little more about your day-to-day, like when you get up to the bunker.
Yeah. My day-to-day is, the majority of my day I spend trying to figure out, if there's any clues on how to get out. But I do spend a lot of time on social media. I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok now, which is cool. And I spend a lot of time talking to people in my Discord server, actually.
Zero.
Which is a lot of fun.
Can we see a TikTok dance by chance?
I'm gonna try to hit one move, but that's all I'm gonna give you because I found out I'm not a dancer. So this is one of the trends, and it goes like dun, 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 dun. As far as I've gotten. I'm much better at doing the selfie style stuff, so I think I'm gonna try that out with you guys instead here. Let me see if I can pull my phone out here, and alright, let's see. There we go. This is more my style. This is a lot better. I can show you guys, give a little spin around, check my room out. It's pretty cool, huh?
Most definitely. So wait, what are you using right now to, take this selfie video?
Oh, good question. I actually have a Samsung phone. I was invited to do a live stream with Samsung a couple weeks ago now, and they sent me a phone through my portal, and that's how I actually scroll the internet now. It's really great, but it's got a great camera in this kind of low-lit place, so I use that to shoot around.
Yeah, so that wasn't an advertisement, actually, but, we had the opportunity, we had the opportunity, literally within 1 week, launching Zero, to host a global live stream with Samsung to announce their new phone. And so that goes back to what Shep was talking about, where brands take a great interest in this. Now that you can do this live, you can actually host a live event with a virtual human to announce new products and whatnot. So Samsung's just one example of it, right? Yeah, Shep, do you want to take
it was a lot of fun. Actually, if I could just, sorry to cut you off, Christopher. They had me on the screen, and I actually met a TikTok influencer, Liam, and now I follow him on TikTok. I'm still waiting for him to follow me back, but that's how I discovered TikTok. It was a ton of fun.
Dude, that is awesome.
Yeah, no, well, the only thing I was gonna add, Mark, you mentioned earlier, just the metaverse is all kind of things, right? But this right here is definitely, what we're doing with the metaverse. We've had a ton of brands that you can imagine reach out about wanting to figure out how they integrate into the Nexus universe, how they integrate into the Zero's bunker. But Mark, maybe I'll just throw you with any where does your mind go whenever you see this? Whenever whenever you think about like the possibilities of like this type of technology, zero as a
Well, the question always is going to be what's pre-scripted and what's happening in real time, right?
test it.
Zero, what's 2 plus 2?
4. Oh man, that's pretty good. I mean, I thought you were gonna try to stump me. I was ready. I was like, hey, how about those Mavs last night beat the Rockets?
What was the score?
Oh man, you asked me the score. I just answered a 2 plus 2 question. I saw we were going to be talking to Mark today, and I was like, oh man, he's really into basketball. So I started Googling about the Mavs last night, saw that they won on a headline. I'm like, I'm going to say that and see if I can impress Mark. You know, maybe we can be friends.
Maybe.
Maybe. We're still working on it. I'll get there one day.
Gotta know the score.
113 to 100?
There you go. There you
Cyborg is plugged in.
But yeah, let me put my phone down here. My hand's getting tired. I'm gonna jump to a smarter camera. Let's see here. There we go.
Maybe you jump somewhere else. Is there somewhere?
Yeah. Oh, you guys want to see where I watch Netflix and stuff?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's check it. Ready? There we go. This is my watch room. So this is actually where I watch Netflix and I scroll the internet. Right now it's just my wallpaper. But yeah, this is where I consume content. I've been watching movies. I actually saw The Princess Bride a couple weeks ago and the sword fighting around the bunker. Inigo Montoya, one of my favorite characters. But yeah, this is the spot where I kind of just chill. Sometimes I fall asleep on the couch here and have really weird dreams. I've been having like the strangest dreams lately. You guys would not believe.
Yeah, I know we've seen them on your Twitter, Zero. It's pretty nuts, but.
Yeah. Have you guys had any ideas about that? I mean, somebody was like, oh, it's just a nightmare. Maybe he needs friends, but I think there's something deeper there. Oh, I do have another spot to show you. Actually, this is the washer is pretty cool, but I have a very impressive spot to show you, and it's probably the piece that most people want to see anyway. So let's go there real quick. This right here is probably the spot that most people will want to see. I have another camera. There we go. This is my portal. This is where most of the mystery stems from. And I don't know, maybe I came through this. I still haven't figured it out. This is actually what I was tinkering with to be able to figure out I can teleport. But yeah, I got some cool things sent through. I don't know if you guys saw, but I actually had a couple of NFT things pop through. And that's where I got my phone too. Haven't figured out how to make it work the other way though. So I don't know if Mark, you have any portal knowledge, that'd be great.
I'll share my portal knowledge.
Okay, we'll offline it. I'll circle back.
So yeah, as you can imagine, I think this is a really great example of how we're world building, right? With Zero, like how you start thinking about a portal, how things are going into his universe, how he's maybe one day in the future able to send things back through the portal back to our universe. But then also you can see he's trapped in this bunker. I think this is like a great example of kind of like how we're starting to world build with Zero. And yes, he's here hanging out with us right now.
But the key is functionally, how does it work? Because I think that's the question everybody has. Because we're so used to seeing animations, and it's hard to tell what's scripted and what's not scripted. Or is there somebody behind the curtains? You're going to open the curtains, which are bots, right? So tell us functionally and technologically how it all works.
Yeah, happy to pull the curtain back a little bit here for y'all, which we actually haven't really done before. So what you're witnessing is happening right now in like a 12 by 20 box, like a studio, highly repeatable, based in Atlanta, Georgia, which is where our company is. In this box, we have a bunch of talented people right now who are powering this. So I'm calling that out straight to y'all. They hear me on the other end. This isn't just one person. It's a whole crew. Our team, who's basically strung together cocktail of technologies, as well as our own custom technology on top, like different processes that we use and different implementations, like that teleportation implementation you see there, the selfie camera that you see there. So basically, how it works is, what you're looking at is we're in a video game world here, okay? Just picture that, all right? You're playing a video game, you're running your character around. Now imagine if you could throw on a suit, and when you move your arm, the arm of your video game character that's the body part of it, right? Well, now how do you make sure that your face is working, right? Well, you strap an iPhone on a head rig near your face, and you capture your facial expressions, and you map it over to the character. Again, all of this is asynchronously. It's all happening at the same time. You also got to know where your feet are too, right? So that's where the suit and certain trackers come into play as well. And so that way you can track exactly how you're moving in the virtual space. I'm describing motion capture, but the latest and greatest version of motion capture, right? There aren't dots all over Zero back home. There aren't these, white dots. He's not in a green suit. He's actually just got some light lift stuff strapped on him inside of a suit that tracks his motion, as well as a head rig. And so now he's in this virtual space. We know how he moves. We know he's a video game character in a video world. How do we control the cameras? Well, in the video game world, you can position cameras in very specific ways. You got a nice tour of that today. Maybe we saw 10 different camera angles, right? And so we have a live control switch that one of our techs was clicking. Yep, right there. Click, click, right? So changing to these pre-programmed camera angles inside of the video game world. Again, this is all real-time rendered too. You have to understand that too. So we are actively rendering this out in real time. Maybe that's not significant for some of you. It could be very significant for others. You might know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's happening in real time, right? And so we are built off the back of some very impressive technology, I would say, and we've also done our hardest to add the next layer to it, and we'll continue to do that. So I have to call out Unreal Engine, right? Like Unreal Engine is a crucial piece to the real-time future that allows technology like this to exist. So
let me give some context from my perspective as an investor. This is not an autonomous character, because that's the first thing you want to know, right? This is not using GPT-3, or any implementations where everything is done using AI. It's just too expensive. It just won't work, right? But if you put this in context of what do you want virtual humans to be, you have to start in a manner that starts integrating in places where there's applications that work. And so what Christopher was alluding to, by integrating all these pieces and being able to sustain a character so it looks like we're all engaged with it like we were, right? That's how you get that first step. That's how you get brands to start recognizing. That's how you get real-time, live, low latency integration with an audience. Because once you do that, that's how you build the character. That's how Zero becomes a household name, or whatever it will become as a brand enabler, as a virtual influencer. But you have to have those tools in place, which is not easy to do. And that's what these guys have been able to do. That's been amazing. Now, where does it go is the most amazing part. Because there will be a point in time where you use GPT-3, which allows you to interact with it, right? And so you won't need somebody behind the curtain to do that, where the mannerisms will be intuitive to what's being said. No one's made that connection yet for a virtual human. It's just not done yet, but it will be. But in order to take those first steps, this is the best place to start. And so now we've created an engaging character, and like everything else with technology, as the technology evolves, each step in the process gets replaced from human to whatever the most advanced technology is, mostly based on AI or computer vision, right? So that's the promise and the progression. So this, being able to interact like this is amazing. What they've been able to do is amazing. But you also have to know where we're going and how we get there. And when you start talking about integrating NFTs, the more autonomous it becomes, the more the community is able to directly influence, and the autonomous virtual human, the AVH, and maybe I point something out, right? The AVH then is able to just act independently. We're not there yet, but this is the road to get there, and that's the ultimate goal.
The thing about GPT-3 is, first of all, don't let anyone tell you that AI is ready to go today, that we can make sentient humans. We're not there. We have studied this at every step of the way of developing this technology. At what time and what place can we implement GPT-3 or whatever progression of that, okay? But the wonderful thing about GPT-3 is it is decentralized information, right? Machine learning is working off of a pool of information to inform that conclusion. Now, when you start to think about what a DAO is a pool of information arriving at a conclusion. And so you can actually start to simulate AI in some regards by working with 10,000, 100,000 people influencing the message of this virtual influencer, right? All while giving them shared ownership.
Which is really cool when you think about it, right? You know, imagine there's another 2,000 people or 200 people or whatever it may be that are watching this in an audience around the world, and you guys are the puppeteers pulling the string based off of that interaction in 2,000.
Yeah, what if Mark asked a question, and then in your hands you had 5 questions where you all voted on what the character's going to say, and then that character reads that off right then and there as the primary response. Like, that is decentralization, but it also creates a collective.
Now put that on Netflix, or Hulu, or in a theater. And that's a whole different virtual entertainment environment.
That goes back to, like, there's 2 ways we've talked about it and kind of how we think about it. One is going back to what I was saying earlier, the idea of building an entertainment brand that, like, the audience can help influence. That's something that there's more doing, right? It's not just people with, like, real-time technology like us, but like Diggins of LA is a great example. They don't have this, but they're telling a cool story with an audience. But then you get that day-to-day interaction through this real-time tech, so people can really interact all day long and help make decisions of what Zero or another character like this is doing. But then, like you said, like, I think it's really cool when you think about, like, Zero being, I'm not going to compare him to Mickey Mouse, but compare him to Mickey Mouse, right? Like Zero being a very, very influential, like, piece of IP that then is controlled by a large team right now that, like you said, one day just slowly we can plug more and more of that content creation into GP3 or into audience, making decisions, and that stuff just outputs in real time. Like that is, I think, what's so exciting about what's coming, I don't know, in the next few years, decade.
However long it takes.
Yeah, we're not gonna give an exact year on that one, but it is crazy.
Yeah, what you're looking at here is beautiful, wonderfully articulated technology, right? But there's a challenge still that even if you have the best technology in your hands, what story do you tell after you have that technology in your hands? So that's what we're really talking about, is who's going to influence the best story, who's going to create the best stories. Even when 1,000 other teams have this same technology and reaches the same point, how are we going to differentiate ourselves beyond just being early movers, right? And so I want to challenge any of you who's working in a medium, be it a photo medium, a video medium, a podcast medium. It's all the same, okay? They're all the same mediums, right? It's about what story you're going to tell through that medium. Make sure you're working with the most advanced version of your medium with the advanced technology, pushing yourself to this point, right? But still be really true to yourself as far as what story you're trying to tell, because that's really what's going to matter in the end, is that story that you tell.
Cool. If you guys are open to that, open up to Q&A. Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay, cool. So a lot of what I heard so far about virtual humans is sounding like it's going to be in competition with like Web 2 social media and like content creators. But I'm wondering if y'all see an application of it being like used for that. So for example, Ryan on YouTube, the little kid that is, multi-millionaire from YouTube. Now that he's getting older and everything and possibly wants to step away from all that, he's being animated. So is this an application where y'all could see, I guess,
thank you. Is this an application where y'all could see kind of like virtual human of Ryan being made? And then if so, do you think that would be a good kind of partnership, or do you still think that's kind of a stepping stone to where the future will be, where it's kind of completely virtual human influencers?
I think we all have an answer to that. Who wants it? I'll take it. So I think there's 2 ways of thinking about like Web 2 influencers and these new Web 3 like virtual influencers. One way is like they could both hop on Twitch together. They can hang out together. They can create content together. Like Zero's in a bunker. Zero can be in future places possibly, anyway, right? But he also can live stream just like we're doing now, so they can create content together. But to answer your other question more directly, like yes, absolutely. We call it alter egos at Offbeat, but like thinking about or digi-double. So either you actually recreate that person, that influencer, that celebrity, and you create a version of them that's now interacting with their audience. It can be somewhat photoreal, or it could be more stylized like Zero. Or you create an entirely new identity that extends off of that celebrity, right? So we'll go to a cool example of just a major celebrity, or like Ryan, who's now has a toy and opening up these like NFT toys or something, or someone that's hanging out on Twitch all day long, and it's not Post Malone, but it's Post Malone's alter ego, right? Like that's definitely being worked on.
Thank you.
Zero.
Hey, Marcus, hi. Hey man, this is fantastic stuff. I just have a question. So who owns the underlying rights to the character? Because there's a voice talent, there's maybe a physical actor talent, there's a virtual graphic. There was an interesting article in the press today about Robin Williams and the genie from Disney. You know, he was the voice of the genie. And so the question is, who owns this thing? And how does the ownership work?
Whatever you negotiate. For real. I mean, now you have to be smart enough to get all those rights. If you're trying to bring something back from the past, people are arguing whether or not you can release a movie day or day, in the theater versus streaming. So it just comes down to contract. It's just like music. A song is put together, everybody negotiates what their role is and how they're getting paid and how future revenue streams will be.
So figure it out from
And that's a word of advice to everybody. If you're going to create a virtual human and the character lines, particularly as you get into a DAO, right? Because there's not really one person taking the lead on negotiation typically. And so how everybody contributes and what the reward is for that needs to be laid out up front, preferably in a smart contract, so it's obvious.
Thank you.
Zero is also totally open for questions.
Always open to questions.
Hi guys, Bianca here. Just taking that further, what jurisdiction would you imagine a virtual human to reside in? And have you guys kind of gone through that process of potential laws or ethics or morality or all of those legal compliances?
Definitely a vagabond. Seriously, because someone's going to try to screw it up, right? Someone's going to try to take it away. Someone's going to think it's a threat. Others are going to think it's an opportunity. But that's the way all new technology works. Who owns the internet? The internet's the ultimate decentralized tool or platform, and fortunately nobody owns it, but a lot of different people control their own little segments, as we see it all the time in politics. So this will be the same way. We won't be wherever bits. We used to say way back when, bits are bits. And they don't care what they are or where they go, and this is just digital. But maybe we get to the point where there are encrypted autonomous virtual humans, right? Where you have to have the decryption in order to watch it. But yeah, it's a great question that.
And economic income, right? If you're looking at is this under the jurisdiction of the states, then the IRS would be involved, or
Yeah, it just depends where you're hosted. I mean, the reality is if there's a business behind it, that's where all the jurisdiction will lie.
Mark made a really interesting point about how bits are bits, right? I've had to defend the virtual influencer space for so long, or rather the medium, that it is a neutral medium, right? Like, this technology is a neutral existence. It's bits, Same as a podcast is a neutral medium, a book is a neutral medium. Again, it goes back to the storytelling, how you use it, that really should define the value of that medium, the value of the content created through it.
Hey guys, Kwaku, I'm a K-12 educator, and I'm seeing a lot of amazing things here, and I'm wondering if you have considered any sort of factors around how this would work within an education model, and then additionally, are you considering any sort of safeguards as far as when the AI sort of shifts over and takes over a lot of the human interaction, what that AI would share with children and how it would communicate ethics and morals, that sort of thing. So it's kind of adding on to that last question.
Yeah, in education, my favorite subject for virtual influencers is actually mental health. And the reason is through character, when you embody a character, you can actually start to express yourself in ways that you maybe wouldn't have felt you could before, right? So there's a lot of VTuber software out there for free. You can spin up a character and control it, 2D anime on Canva. You can actually be a VTuber. So imagine if you equip a whole class with the opportunity to be a VTuber and express themselves privately while they, explore themselves, but explore themselves without the context of being judged for what they look like, or perhaps a handicap, or whatever that may be, right? So education of how to express yourself is a big opportunity, but also just how to be creative. Imagine, I wish all our classes would have a little VTuber day, where you could go sit in front of a webcam and be a VTuber. I might, that might actually be a thing already, but that's one way. Just using it in our class, using it to advertise and promote for mental health. But the AI question is a hard one. Again, it's how you're going to use that AI and how it's going to be controlled. AI is trained off of models and can be fenced. You can fence AI to only talk about certain subjects. I come from a background in social media app development, actually, and we had some popular media apps that were crushed because we didn't have proper moderation tools. Like, we let the users kill the app, and it really dawned on me in that moment that if we had put proper fences up, we could have actually potentially seen through a different trajectory of that app. But the point is, moderation of technology is so crucial, and I think that we need to think about how to implement that around AI.
I want to just kind of pivot that question a little bit too, because you brought up such an interesting point around like the fact that anyone can be behind these characters and anyone can like have a different personality that maybe they don't have in person. Most creators that we've met behind virtual influencers, you would never expect to have millions of followers on this character. They're not, they're not influencers. They're not like, they don't have a really loud personality. They just really understand how, this type of content creation works, and they have a story to tell, but maybe they don't think they're the right, they're the right person to tell that story as themselves. And so we know many people that have created these type of avatars to tell stories, and specifically like TikTok. And it's really, really cool to think about how they can do that.
Let's take more questions.
Great panel, thank you. I wanted to follow up on the AI comment you just made. From a practical perspective, if you're to automate zero a little bit further than what it already is, do you envision the biggest challenge being the data, the compute, the NLP? Like, what component of zero do you need to focus on? And also from a practical point of view, do you think that using someone's AI, like OpenAI, or developing it in-house is like the way to do it?
If we're going to develop AI in-house, we'd have to get started yesterday, I would say. So we're definitely a fan of using letting people who work in AI create the best possible product that we can then implement. AI is a challenging problem. But the interesting fundamentals would be, in virtual human development, there's rigging. The character actually has an underlying bone structure, and the motion capture data of how it moves. Imagine if we're saving that motion capture data for years as we capture that, and then we start to train an AI model on how the character moves their bone structure, and that's how we will train up an AI model. Same goes with the expressions. Basically, all of the inputs that are informing the motion capture, monitor those, and then use that information to train the AI, and then hopefully we could get somewhere with, something where the character moves. Yeah, that AI movement there. I actually know of one technology out there where you can control a face will show an expression based off of gesture voice into a microphone. So hypothetically, you could have a human face, and Deja is a similar example, but effectively you speak and you go, hey there, and the AI knows to make the face show more expressive because of the inflection of your voice. So we are getting to the point where these inputs are being informed through AI.
And plus, just look at what's going on with chatbots. Every website you go to, and now it's text interaction, not voice, but everything it learns based off the questions being asked via text is going to be relevant to what happens with the Autonomous Virtual Human, whether it's OpenAI or Microsoft's version or whoever's version comes along. And then on top of that, just look at what Facebook/Meta is doing or trying to do in the metaverse. What you see with Zero, they're trying to create that environment where everything looks real. And so if you read what they've been talking about lately about the advancements of AI, they're trying to take computer vision and integrate it into a full VR environment where everything looks real. And I'm not talking 5 years from now, 20 years from now, when the compute power is far greater than what it is now, and processing that, the models are more efficient. You can be sitting with your VR headset and they're talking to virtual humans that look real, right? We've already seen the GANs that create real human-looking faces that are indistinguishable. So everything that you see will look real. That's the freaky, fucked up part, right? If you just woke up hungover and you woke up with your VR, I can already see stuff happening now. God damn it, I forgot I had my VR headset on, my VR contact lenses or whatever it is, right? And I thought that shit was real, right? It wasn't, and they'll have to put a little stamp at the bottom, or a little special earring on every virtual human to let you know that it's not really a human that you're looking at. It will get that advanced, whether it's 20, 30, 40 years, I don't know. But that's where we're going, and this is just the first pitch of the first inning of the first preseason game, but yes, it will get that far.
First of all, jailbreakers would have a field day with that future, you know?
It'd be crazy.
Now, I think a big learning there is that like characters are a medium and they're the future. So if you're thinking about as a creator, how you want to present yourself online, consider characters as a medium for the future, and then look at the technology you can implement behind it. Maybe we can take one question for Zero. What's your question? You have a question for Zero?
Yeah.
Okay, what's your question?
I want to ask Zero, what makes you unique?
What makes you unique?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. That's a really deep question. I think a lot of
Yeah,
people-
and I really want you to answer that, because that'll show your potential.
What's that? I'm sorry.
That'll show your capabilities, right? It's a really deep question. And it's a simple question, I mean, it's just, I'm just asking what.
Yeah. No, I like the question. One, I think I'm unique. One, I think my hair's pretty great. That's super unique. But what also makes me unique is I have my own interests. Right? I'm incredibly interested in video games and Twitch streamers and social media, which a lot of people are into social media. But you know, I like gaming, so I get to spend a lot of time watching streamers and learning from them, and then finding cool ways that I can become a part of that community. You know, like maybe soon, hopefully, I get to stream, you know, on Twitch. And that makes me unique, and then I get to figure out, you know, what my shtick is. You know, you watch gamers now, and they all have kind of like a shtick that they do. And I haven't found mine yet, but I'm gonna find something that's unique to me that my audience is really gonna like.
He's got a robot arm and he can teleport.
Oh,
I noticed that.
That's
Yeah.
pretty unique.
That's pretty unique.
His Twitter, if you'd like to follow Zero and keep up with him, is Zero from Nexus. So he actually has a lot of content out already with way more capabilities than what you just saw here today. And again, like I said, with the fidelity, you know, we all have some fatigue probably, or Google needs fatigue, that's the thing. But check out Zero from Nexus. Yeah, one question.
One more question.
Yeah, right here.
Can you dumb it down for me a little bit? Who or what just answered that?
Zero from Nexus.
That's me.
Thank you.
My name is Zero.
All right, thank you everyone. I think that's it. See you, Zero. Have a good one.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
I really hope this works.